So, hi, you guys. Welcome to this Tuesday afternoon broadcast. My name is Lauren Fritsch, and I am here with my business BFF, Racheal Cook. Racheal is a really amazing mom and business owner, and I've watched her, I didn't watch her give birth to twins, but I've watched her raise twins, and then she just had a newborn baby Mitchell, and it's been very interesting to see how she structures her business to support being a mom and not the other way around. And we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but Racheal, first, I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so Lauren, you and I have talked about this so much, but recently I was going through a very, very well-known program where there were thousands of people in the program and a lot of confusion and a lot of overwhelm from these entrepreneurs. And so I sat down to write a blog post, and suddenly it was like this epic blog post that I've come up with. And it's just that everybody is getting all this information and it seems to always be contradictory, right? So it's like email is dead, but you need a massive email list. But you don't need an email list. You need social media, but you need to be on it all day. You don't need to be on it all day. You need to do hangouts and live stream and videos. And I mean, it starts to sound like we're running three-ring circuses instead of businesses because there's so much that we're being told we're supposed to do. And there's a lot of fear that we're not doing it right if we're not doing it the way that this multi-million-dollar, guru person says that we should be doing it. And my conclusion after, hearing all of this is that there's a lot of women entrepreneurs who are so worried about getting it right, who are so worried about messing it up, that they're not allowing themselves to really tune in to their own inner wisdom and decide, does this work for me or not? And then be okay with that. So that's where I am right now. I'm really wanting to get this message out there and have more women trust themselves when they find something that works and just ignore all the people that say, no, don't do that. Because if it works for you, it works. Don't stress. Keep doing that.
I do want to say on that note, one of my first products ever purchased was Ali Brown's online blueprint success system. I paid like $1,500 for that, and no offense to Ali Brown, but it really wasn't. It wasn't a $1,500 program to DIY myself. And something that I tell a lot of entrepreneurs who are in the business of educating themselves. Everything you need to know is online for free. What all these other people who are selling programs and services are doing, well, and some people's IP is not always free, but all the basics that you need to know is online for free. You just have to take the time to learn it and to parse it and then to integrate it and use it and apply it. So, what we're paying for, to quote Derek Halpern, is we're paying for it to be faster. So someone else is culling all the information that we need together. We're paying to get that information more quickly and more easily. And in many cases, we're paying them to be the editors or the curators of information for us. And I really love that Racheal is waving a flag of like, oh wait, no, we have our own wisdom too. And someone who I think also says the same thing around that is Erica Learmark. She says, do your 2 bikinis. Your 2 bikinis. She was over dressing up in all these different crazy outfits as a stripper. One day it's the blonde wig, one day it's the afro, one day it's the whatever. And it was wearing her out. She was like, no, I only have 2 bikinis. I'm going to stick to my 2 bikinis. And I love that concept because I like to say the word bikini. And I also love the concept because really pick the 2 things that you do really well. And I think that jives with what Racheal is saying, you guys, which is stick to what works for you. If you freaking hate Facebook, you have no business being on Facebook. Okay, that's my rant. Now, Rach, tell us.
And I would totally agree with that, Lauren. I mean, there's a lot that we're being told we have to do because this is the new marketing. This is where things are going. And if you're not on XYZ, then you're missing out. And I think the fear of missing out is also freaking people out.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's a lot of people who run amazing businesses and they really do a great job when they decide this is what I'm great at and I'm not going to worry about the rest of the stuff. The rest of the stuff stressing me out. I don't want to go there.
Tell us how you've done that in your own business, that exact thing about saying this is what I'm about, here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to forget about the rest. Give us an example.
Of saying I'm not going to do everything?
Yeah.
So I would say for me,
Personally, an example of that is like I'm not on every social media platform for business. Like I'm on Instagram, but that's personally. I'm not trying to figure out how to monetize Instagram. I've played around with a few little things, but I'm not trying to be on every single thing. There's actually systems out there where you can have like your video uploaded and suddenly it's on 40 different like micro social media sites that no one even knows about. And I looked at all that and I was like, okay, so I'm going to have 40 different social media things and they're all going to be kind of half-assed instead of just 1 or 2 that I really like. And honestly, the one I really like is Facebook. So I spend most of my time there. I'm on Twitter a little bit, but not a ton. And I'm okay with letting everything else go. I think someone else who does, like you mentioned, Derek Halpern, I think he does a great job with this. He's really not trying to be everywhere at the exact same time, but what he's been doing is really smart. Like he started off, he didn't even have a Facebook page. When he started off, he had his blog and Twitter and an email list, and that was it. And it's only been, and really because I found him right at the beginning of his journey, I've watched him. He slowly, every few months, once he mastered Twitter and was really getting momentum there, then he made a Facebook page and then slowly built up momentum there. And then it has only been a few months that he's added video, and he's let each of those things be, 1 at a time, really master it, and then add a new layer of complexity. But what I see for a lot of other entrepreneurs, especially women, when we go in these programs, is we're told, here's the huge checklist, and you have to do it all right now. And it's just not possible. It just wears us out.
I think that's a really good point about how Derek has layered, if you will, of course it goes back to clothing. He's layered his strategy 1 at a time. So once he mastered one thing, then he went on to the next. I actually think that it can be really helpful to spend 3 months, a solid 3 months on something. So pick the social media outlet for the quarter that you're going to like really be present on and just do that, I mean, instead of just sort of scattershot trying to be on Google Plus and then trying to be on Facebook and then trying to be on Twitter. What would happen if you were very strategic, if you educated yourself and then applied knowledge around just one social media platform for 3 months? I think that is something that you guys can implement literally starting today. And I would love to know if you do that, how that works for you. One that I'm going to be using coming up actually, and that most of you probably don't use that much, is LinkedIn. And I get decent leads off of LinkedIn and have one of the top 1% viewed profiles, but I didn't know anything about how to monetize that really other than organic growth. And so I bought, a $97 LinkedIn training, and I'm slowly processing that. You know, a lot of the LinkedIn stuff has to do with your image, and it has to do with your bio, really. So those are things that actually this week I'm changing so that I can be better perceived by my target client group on LinkedIn. And again, that's not an obvious social network for most online entrepreneurs, but it can be super, super helpful. So, Racheal, I want to ask you, I keep hearing the word fear, and I keep hearing FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So talk to us about this whole internet fear and where it's coming from, what's the source of it, and how we can get beyond it, let it go, not even let it be a part of our business calculations.
Sure. So one thing that I think people need to be super aware of is the people who founded all of the online marketing training that we're learning about. They were all direct marketers, like copywriters, who really spent a lot of time focusing on how can we get people to take action. Unfortunately, when it translates online, it's like red flashing arrows and lots of urgency and scarcity. And a lot of people take these things and turn them into these really fear-mongering type of tactics. Like they take these concepts that we learned about for copywriting and direct marketing and really use them to the extreme. And once you start to understand these concepts, you start seeing it when you land on these sales pages. You start saying, oh, that's what they're doing right there. I understand why they're doing this now. And when you start to understand the psychology behind what they're doing, I really believe we can stop focusing on the fear and start shifting the vibration of what we're doing and focus on what people really want to experience, their desires, their dreams, instead of always like scaring the hell out of people to get them to do what they need to do. But yeah, there's a lot of people who keep buying up all these programs because they're excellently marketed using these fear-based tactics. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I even today, and I don't know if you guys are on my newsletter list. Some of you probably are since you're here. But I really try to have a conversational tone in my newsletters because when I get one of those emails that even today I got one and I thought, oh, this doesn't sit right with me. And I thought, oh, that's data. How interesting. I'm sure this woman has great stuff and she's a wonderful person and she's very like heart-centered as an entrepreneur, but she's in marketing, you know, whatever. Like let's say we're in 3.0, she's in like marketing 2.0, meaning she's still going, this week I was in the lovely hotel in Arizona and it was amazing and here's the photograph of it and I loved it. And because I don't want you to miss out, I'm offering 50% off of all my products. And I'm going to teach you how to live the life that I live. And I'm like, oh. Like that for me is a disconnect. Like it's okay for me to be like, oh, hey guys, I was in Hong Kong. If you go, you should go to this restaurant. And then, like, by the way, here's what's on my mind this week. And at the end, like, if you want to buy something, great, but I don't even usually have something to buy on my newsletter, which probably needs to change. However, I'm not going to have any marketing speak around it. And the reason I say that is because one of my favorite marketers has, like, I don't know, 100,000 people on his list, and he's a monk. And on every newsletter, every day I get a newsletter. The newsletter is his amazing text pulled from some of his teaching, and at the bottom they have like a description of one of his audio programs or a description of an upcoming program, whatever, live, in person, you know, all these different things. He's got a body of work for like 4 decades, so there's plenty of info products, and they always have something, but it's never introduced with marketing speak, ever, 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 ever. And
Yeah.
this guy's killing it. He's killing it for God, you know, like. And he doesn't need the marketing speak around it, and it's so refreshing. And as a result, I read his email almost every day. I buy a lot of his stuff. I mean, I've bought tons. But it's not because there was some like, oh my gosh, I need to get this because she's running out and it's only 50% off for the next 24 hours. And oh my gosh, all this like false scarcity that Racheal was talking about. So that being said, I think we are moving into marketing 3.0. And what I would love for you, Racheal, to address next is, okay, we know how not to do it. Now, how do we do what we want to do? Take it away.
Take it away. So this is something that I've been spending a lot of time on recently because the fear is if we don't do it the way that all these people are telling us, which is like to start your sales conversations with the picture of this huge house and then contrast it with your story of how broke you were and how you were living in like some horrible shack down by the river. You know, this is, if you can see this storyline in so many sales pages. Like seriously, go out there and read some sales pages and look for the picture of the big fancy mansion and the flashy cars, and then read further down about how they were like sleeping on someone's couch and about to commit suicide, and how they magically learned this thing and now their amazingly perfect life is here in like 5 days. That is all a red flag to me. And for people who've been around for a while, you start to know that's a red flag. Unfortunately, it preys on a lot of people. I think what we can start doing as conscious entrepreneurs is what that does is it really kind of agitates and pokes at fear and says, if you don't get this, you're going to be where I was, which was like this horrible position in this horrible place. Which is fine. There's a lot to be said for the whole, hero's journey. It's an awesome way to, share what you've learned. But what if you're just naturally awesome at something? What if you're just wanting to say, hey, this is my gift and I rock at it and here's what I have to offer you and how it's helped some other people that I've helped.
Hold on. I just want to pause for a second, Rach. Wait. You're saying that we don't have to tell the sob story in order to get clients. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Again, I just want to pause for a moment. We have, for at least the past 6 to 7 years, probably longer, been taught in every single copywriting class, every single, this is how you write a sales page, to, dig deep into our pain and tell how horrible it was to live this way. And then, by magic, I discovered the solution. And it's the solution that I would like to sell to you. I love that we don't have to do that anymore. So I'm going to stop interrupting you.
I think this is crucial, and I think this is why a lot of heart-centered entrepreneurs have a hard time doing the whole sales conversation, because most traditional sales conversations, and Lauren, you know this because you've taken a ton of sales training too, most of it is all about let's get them going down the rabbit hole of what's the worst possible thing that could happen to them. And suddenly people are spinning out of control into these horrible, things that could happen if they don't turn things around. And that's, to me, it feels a little bit like preying on people's emotions. And it doesn't feel good to me. So what I think is better is instead of coming from a point of fear and I'm going to scare you into doing something, instead I'm going to empathize with you. And I'm going to say, oh my gosh, I know how you feel. I totally understand this might be how you're feeling. And really express empathy. And then express what you might have to help them. And it doesn't have to be in a sleazy way. I really honestly have gotten more out of programs and things that I have taken myself when it's come from someone who hasn't had the sob story, but someone who said, this is my gift. This is what I rock at. And I have been doing this for a while. This is who I've helped. This is where I'd like to help you. This is how we can work together. This is the results that I've helped other people get. I think that speaks a whole lot easier to me than, the feeling of if I don't do this, I'm always going to fail. And I've had so many people come to me and they've been on the free coaching call. You know what I mean? The free coaching call that's really the sales call to get you to sign up for something. And I have heard stories of people who've been on those calls and the coach actually said something like, well, if you don't sign up for this now, you're always going to be stuck. And that just, I'm just like, wow, that's really horrible to tell somebody that if they don't sign up for something now, they're always going to be stuck. I mean,
you would never say that to your best friend if she was needing support around something. If you were giving her some advice, you wouldn't sit there and say, and if you don't do this,
you're going to hell in a handbasket. You just don't.
The other common one I think that people hear often is you don't really want to invest in yourself if you don't want to buy my program right now. That's, I think, a common one, and that's really, really fucked up. I'm just going to go out on the limb and say that. And the reason I say that is it's because that person is saying that they know your experience better than you do, and they're therefore completely unvalidating your experience and your any decision-making process that you'd like to have. Like, let's say you say on a call, oh, I'd like to go chat this over with my husband. Well, if you don't have a relationship where you're allowed to make decisions, then maybe that's not a relationship you need to be in to support your business. Like, seriously, that stuff happens, you guys. And again, because we have
totally
this,
does.
yeah, we have this tag word of conscious entrepreneurs. It's like, okay, we've all been taught the same stuff. We've experienced the same stuff. I, for one, have signed up like the equivalent of over $50,000 with people who've said this stuff to me. And finally, I decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. I don't do trainings that often. And I think now it's time for us to start blowing the whistle on this stuff and saying, we want to do it differently.
Yeah.
A little bit about how does this process of conversion take place online and offline when we're coming from a place of consciousness? Bam.
I really think it comes from a place of putting really great work out there into the world. And this is where free content that we're all being told we should create is super important, because it's actually, I love how, and now I'm just having a mind blank, Andrea Lee calls it your pink spoon. It's your little way for people to sample and get a taste of what you have to offer. And this is super important. If you put great work out there and you give people value right now for them to actually taste and try out and see if they like it or they don't, a few things are going to happen. One, either they're going to be so excited that they finally found you that they're looking around on your site, like waiting for a buy now button. Like, that's the type of clients that I love getting. They're like, oh my God, I read this. It totally resonated with me and I knew I had to work with you. Some of my favorite clients, that's been how it's been. They heard I had a spot open for coaching or whatever, and I didn't have to do anything other than say, okay, I have a spot open. Cool, perfect, love it, because they're ready to roll and they know, they're not testing me out at that point. The other thing that I think is really important from a conversion standpoint is knowing that some people are still in the research phase. Like, you really have to understand what stage people are in when they're getting out there and looking for support or help. Very few of us are looking to make big decisions in our lives or in our businesses, and we want to make that decision on a 30-minute phone call without looking around or thinking about it. Some of us are absolutely ready on that 30-minute phone call or on your webinar or when they land on your sales page. Some people are absolutely ready. They've been hunting, they've been looking, they've been researching, they might have been following you. Some people need to get to know, like, and trust you a little bit longer. And so even though they might be reading your stuff, they don't jump on board right away because they're like, well, let me just kind of see what happens. And it's totally cool. I think you have to stay detached from that. I have definitely had some conversations in the last year where I was having, I don't have a free call anymore. That doesn't work for me. What I do is when I am accepting applications, people fill out applications to work with me, and then I'll set up an interview to make sure it's a fit. And I had a few people in the last year who I got on the phone with them, even though their application looked like they might be a fit. I got on the phone with them, and within a few minutes, I intuitively knew it was not going to be a fit. And I was able to be like, you know what? I think you'd be better served by this other person. And very few people, I think, will do that. But it actually frees you up to wait for the clients who you do love, who are the ones that jump on that call, and you're totally on the same wavelength, and you want to work together.
Absolutely. I love what you just said. You guys, I think Rachel and I do this too, where if we think someone's not a fit for us, we're happy to send them to someone else. And just so you know, later this summer, I'm going to be teaching a class on consultative sales for service professionals, and it's a class that I teach to sales teams who generate upwards of $30 and $50 million of revenue a year, because they use a consultative sales approach. And I've taught it now to hundreds of people, and it's what I used yesterday to close a new $20,000 contract. Yeah. And I'm really happy about that, because actually this year has been pretty low from a revenue standpoint. And it works with individuals as well as it works with companies, because companies are just individuals, and it's really not about closing the sale and placing your product as their solution or your service as their solution. It's really about doing what Rachel just described, which is getting to know the buyer and seeing if it, basically facilitating a decision for the buyer. Like, help them make a decision, whatever that decision will be. That is a very powerful place as a salesperson. We're all salespeople as business owners. And it's also an empowering position for the buyer, because they no longer, you're not pitching. You don't ever have to pitch ever again. You don't ever have to have one of those weird scripts with like tie downs and getting them to say NLP stuff over and over so that they're saying yes to you on the call, and then they say yes to you when you ask them to pay you money. Like, none of that shit. You don't have to do that, because you're not as attached to their saying yes. You really just want to go beside them as a partner and help them make that decision. Often they're going to choose your decision simply because of how you help them facilitate that. And then they're like, oh, that felt really good. You know, for me, because I'm selling sales training, if I go into my prospective client and I sell that way, they go, oh my gosh, you just sold me that program. I didn't even realize. And they're like, is that what you're going to teach my people? And I'm going to be like, yes, that's what I'm going to teach your people. And it's something that I only discovered, like, 2 years ago, consultative sales, like this very specific approach. And over time, I've been able to start to integrate it. And it takes practice and all that kinds of stuff. But it is a wonderful way to serve people and be conscious, because you can't be a consultant without asking amazing questions and being present to what is going on with the person you're talking to. And it's a way to practice being a conscious business owner in the sales process. It's beautiful. Anyway, Rach, I want to ask, because we're at 3:30 now, and I know that you've got a little baby at home. I want to ask you, where are the top 3 places that you see conscious business owners getting hung up, and what can we do about it?
Okay, I just talked about this earlier
today, so here we go. The first one is worrying that we need to serve everybody, that we need to make everybody happy. I see so many people, especially in our community of coaches and yogis and healers and people who really have this business created out of service. They really tend to feel like, oh my gosh, this can help so many people, and I don't want to turn anybody away. I don't want to turn anybody off from me. So what they start to do is actually make their business very bland, like very beige, if you will. They beige up their business. So that it will appeal to everybody. Just like if you were to, try to put your house on the market, your realtor is going to say, paint your whole house beige. That way, anybody, any family could walk through your house and imagine their stuff in it, right? Like, so if it's a young urban couple, they can walk through the same house as, with the same type of feeling as an older couple or a family with children or whatever. That's why those houses are painted beige, so anybody can see themselves in it. But when you're selling your life's work, you don't want everybody in your business. You really don't. I promise you, you don't. You're not a Walmart, okay? This is really crucial. I think if you're trying to appeal to everybody, imagine what your business, even if you don't have a bricks and mortar business, you don't have an actual like office people come into, what would that office or business look like if you were to design it and make it feel the way you want it to feel? Would it feel like a Walmart or like a big old Costco or something where just anybody can roll up in there and get what they need? And does that feel good to you? Or Are you really sharing your life's work, like the stuff that is coming out of your soul that you really love, and you put so much attention to detail in it? Are you creating something different, something that maybe is really beautiful and cozy and warm and inviting? You know, think about that. So don't paint your business beige. You don't have to try to appeal to everybody. Find ways that you're standing out with your own personality. Yes, you will turn people off. That's a good thing. That means you're giving them permission to go find the right teacher for them, because honestly, we all get our best work done when we're actually with the right teacher. So make sure you're shining out who you want to work with and how you work really, really clearly, so that you're not, you know, looking just like everybody else out there in the world. So that's the first thing that I think is super, super important. The next thing I would say is really important is to make sure you're actually inviting people to work with you. So imagine you were having a party, or let's say you were throwing a bridal shower for your best friend, and you spent so much time going out and getting the perfect little favors and testing all the cake and getting these beautiful centerpieces done and handwriting all these little notes and cards and having gorgeous flowers. Like, you spent so much love and detail putting this all together. And then you sit there waiting for everybody to show up and nobody shows up. So that's what happens in a lot of our businesses, is we spend so much time creating and putting together our offering or our program or our service and writing all of our content, but we don't have anybody walking in the door. And it's because we didn't send them an invitation. So this is so simple. Like, we can't just think if we build it, they will come, because the truth is there are more blogs and more websites going up now than ever before. Like, in the time we've been talking, there's probably thousands of new sites that just went live. So you have to make sure that you're reaching out there and inviting people into your space, inviting people to come to you, because your site doesn't magically have traffic coming to it until you start inviting it in. And your business doesn't magically have people finding it unless you're giving them a reason to come see you. So that's really important, making sure you're inviting people. And then finally, I think the final thing that's holding a lot of people up is women especially are so worried about everything being perfect, about getting it right before they even put it out there. So we tend to sit there in like our secret labs, putting everything together, and I see this so often. I have seen so many women who are like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to create this program. I'm going to sit here and pre-record and have it ready to go, and I'm going to design it up, and then I'm going to hire an entire team to help me with this launch. And then suddenly, for them to release a program, they have spent like thousands of dollars, and then they open it for a launch, and it's crickets. Like, there's nobody interested. There's nobody there. And I think when you spend so much time trying to make it perfect, the problem is you're making your business all about you. And it's actually not about you. It's about us. It's about you and your ideal clients. It's a co-creation, if you will. So if you're not offering something they actually want, then you don't have a business, because you don't have anybody buying anything from you. You don't have anybody paying you to do anything. So if you want to create for the sake of creation, you're really an artist, and that's awesome. Like, go create your art. That's fabulous. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have to co-create and be willing to put something out there, even if it's flawed, so that you can see if it's really what people want. So this is something I love, the idea of beta testing, of inviting a small group of people in to test something out before you launch it. I love the idea of writing your sales page first and have some people review it. And if people are like, heck yeah, I'd buy it, you're on. And if people are like, this is kind of not very exciting to me, then you know you've got to work on something. So you can actually figure out ways to test things out and get people involved, so that you're not creating like in this little bubble, hoping that when you release it, even if it is perfect in your mind, it might not be perfect for what your peeps want.
So I'm going to see if I can recap those. Number one, don't paint your business beige. Number two, for some reason I can't remember, but you can tell me.
Send them an invitation.
Don't be sitting at your party all by yourself. Ask people to work with you. And then number 3 is making sure that you realize that, don't create in a vacuum. Test your stuff and make sure that you have something that's a viable product that people want to buy, which is, some people call that minimum viability. You can call it proof of concept, and there are lots of different ways to test that, but that's a super important thing. Like when I was creating my perfume, I thought that it smelled really good, so I was like, yeah, I'm into it. And before I decided to actually put it into formal containers, I was like, I better test this. And so I basically just started giving it out for people to test. And sorry, I have the hiccups now. And what happened is pretty much everybody liked it. So I was excited. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone out and tested it with people and said, hey, this is just something I'm blending. I'm about to start blending my next scent, and I'm going to test it probably with a lot more people this time, actually, to see if people are willing to buy it. So, okay.
Awesome.
That being said, you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with Racheal's work, but she has a program called Conscious Business Design. Now, I'm going to give my 2 cents on this, and this is someone who hasn't gone through programs like B-School, or I don't know, that seems to be like the dominant one these days. But I have paid a lot of money for masterminds. I paid a lot of money for, the online success blueprint system. And I think that what Racheal has put together is something that is very comprehensive, and that is a lot more about step-by-step and how you actually get things done, as opposed to like, here's what you need to do, and personal. So it also has this personal touch where the group is smaller, and you also have access to Racheal, which is huge, because Racheal's seen a ton of businesses. She's seen how they work. She's seen what doesn't work, and her group is not one where you can get lost. And as someone who has coached, I would say almost all of my solo entrepreneur clients have gone through some other famous coaching program similar to Conscious Business Design, but also different. And I would say that the number one comment I get from those people coming out of those programs is, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start, and then I don't do anything. And I feel like Racheal has designed Conscious Business Design from a specific point of view to mitigate that overwhelm, because you can't get overwhelmed if she's breaking it down step by step and constantly requiring you to turn back to your heart, your source, whatever you want to call it, so that you are making sure that you're sticking to the things that really are about what you're about, so that you're not just like flailing and doing all kinds of busy work and activity just because that's what some guru says, but because it really resonates with who you are and really with the soul of your business too. So that's my plug for Conscious Business Design. After this call, you're going to get an email, and it will have a link to Conscious Business Design. I'm a proud affiliate, and like I said, I've been masterminding with Racheal for years, and I heart her. And if you are looking for a comprehensive approach to, okay, soup to nuts, I'm a beginner and I need to start my business, or I'm mid-career as an entrepreneur and I really need to get some of these fundamentals down, absolutely check out Conscious Business Design. Don't feel like you have to make the decision in a 30-minute phone call, and know that Conscious Business Design comes with some really wonderful built-in structures that help the participants succeed. So with that, Rach, is there anything you want to say about CBD while we're talking?
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. I could kind of hear you. It's all good. So the big change for Conscious Business Design right now, and I would invite you to look at how you're designing your own programs and services as I tell you about this. So I've been teaching Conscious Business Design for several years now, since 2011, and we've graduated hundreds of people through the program. And this year, what has changed for me is I was going through several different big training programs with people like Marie Forleo and Brennan Burchard and some of these big names in the whole online space. And some funny things started happening that I've noticed for a while for me, which is every time I take one of these programs, I end up with a lot of private coaching clients. Here's how that happens. I talk to the community, I get in there and I'm like, hey, I just did this and this and this based on what I just learned. What do you think? I'd love to hear feedback. And suddenly I have people coming to me going, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. This is way too much information. And usually what I found was it's because they didn't understand these core fundamentals. So there has not been a training I've gone through, a mastermind program I've gone through, an event I've attended where I didn't end up getting clients because of this, because a lot of those programs are not designed to help hold your hand and guide you through and really help you tailor what you're learning to you and your business. So when I went through conscious business design and looked at what do I want this to be from this point on, I realized I don't want to have another one, I don't want to be another person pumping out training programs. That's not my jam. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be somebody who just has, thousands of people in there and I don't know anything about their businesses. I hate that. I hate being that in other people's courses, and it doesn't feel good. So what I've decided to do is turn the multimedia training that is conscious business design and add another layer of an online mastermind. And that really intimate online mastermind allows me to really get to know your business, to really get to know you and what it is you're trying to create and design for you and your life and your family. And that way, when we get on the phone every week as a group, I can actually mindfully, consciously answer your questions and give you great feedback and help you apply what you're learning. And I also added in a ton more support so that my goal is by the time you get done with this program, you don't just have a big, binder full of PDFs you've printed off with no idea what to really do with them. My goal is that you'll roll out of this program with some core marketing elements done, ready to implement, ready to actually go live, ready to put in place so that your business is really, really ready to work for you instead of you sitting there feeling like, oh, great, I have no idea what to do with all this stuff. So that's where I've come from for redesigning conscious business design. I wanted to add an even more comprehensive layer of support, and I really wanted to help with the implementation piece since that's where I see a lot of people getting hung up.
I am super happy to hear that structure in place. And you guys, like I said, you'll receive an email about conscious business design and with my affiliate link. And I, welcome you to apply to be in conscious business design. I don't know why I can't say it today. Conscious business design. And, I have the utmost respect for Racheal and her work. I think it's interesting, actually, that she has an exclusive and small, luxurious group that gets lavished with her attention. And I think that that's really special because I suspect, actually, that it won't be like that forever. And, I know, Rach, that your intention is to keep it small, and I love that. And I also know that people are going to start to really be on to you. And I know that you will continue to offer really, concentrated and in an intimate environment to grow businesses. And so I respect that that's a conscious decision that you're making, and love that is where you are in your growth cycle. So guys, get her while you can. And that's not from a scarcity perspective. It's just because I know that Racheal will continue to grow and change. And, if you have questions, reach out. You can ask me questions. Feel free to, but definitely reach out to Rach. Join the Yogipreneur Facebook group. There's a lot that goes on there. And should you decide to be in conscious business design, of course, there's the private Facebook group that actually has really fabulous discussions on it, unlike the pitch fests that happen on some other of the groups I've been in. And other than that, I think that's a wonderful place to close. Racheal, thank you for the invitation to look into conscious business design for our own businesses. And happy Tuesday. We will see you. If you liked this little broadcast, feel free to share it. There's going to be a link on your Ustream. And please join me at 3 p.m. on Thursday. I'll be interviewing Catherine Garceau, Olympic medalist for synchronized swimming, also water crusader around the world for fresh water, and the creator of Eat 360, an emotional awareness training program for men and women who want to end their struggle with emotional eating. And Kat and I met at a retreat some years ago now, probably, 5 or 6, and I was facilitating a retreat with my coach, and we really bonded over our shared struggle with eating disorders and how that recovery process so impacted our businesses, our relationships, our bodies, the whole bit. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the technology that she's bringing into play for Eat 360. So, Racheal, thank you much, Lee, and we will see you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Lauren.